What do you at, boys? What a voice on me. Jesus Christ. Here we are. It's Thursday. Welcome to Tales with TR. I'm your host, Terry Ryan Jr., coming at you from Sudbury, Ontario, home of the Blueberry Bulldogs. And boy, it's been a long couple of days. One of those a couple of days of lots of. We did hockey the first week. We were shooting Shoresy season 5 for those that are just tuning in for the first time. I wonder, is anybody after all this time tuning in for the first time? I think I basically have my audience. And thanks for tuning into the Andrew Peters, by the way, and apologies. I'm getting this out there now, and if I can get a guest tomorrow, I will. But the days have been long and a lot of lines. Like just yesterday, I counted 49 different times, so different lines, different times I piped up. Not that you got to do that every time. I write all my lines out. A lot of people have messaged me, wondering about the best way to go about, if they're an actor or whatever, remembering the lines and everything. And trust me, I don't have an easy time with that. I'd rather almost remember 3 pages in a row than have to remember like the piping in. Like yesterday, again, I had 49 different times. So it was basically 2 scenes, right? So that's roughly 20 per, but some are longer than others. And then a couple times I went like 3 pages without speaking, and then you pipe in. So you can't just remember your lines. You got to have an idea. You got to have a context of the whole situation, first of all. So just ever remembering them isn't good enough. You have to get the context of what's happening, like a real good idea, not just, okay, guys, in this scene in the dressing room, and we're arguing about, I don't know, fucking bananas, the fruit they're giving us, in between periods, bananas and oranges. We want fucking, I don't know, Kit Kat bars. I don't know. But so, okay, it's fine enough to know that, but maybe there's underlying, if the girls are in there with us, maybe maybe we're coming from a scene that they want to use blueberries because we're the Blueberry Bulldogs, and maybe we're mad at them already or something. So you got to really know the context of everything, because that does change it a little bit. I know this sounds crazy, but if we're like buzzed, you got to know what you're buzzed on. You know what I mean? Because it could be just, am I fucking wired, or am I mellow? Am I just fucking annoyingly drunk? Am I just happy stoned? There's all kinds of different level of buzz. So things like that. What else? Oh, when yeah, people ask me, they're remembering. So I write all the lines out, and if there's a tough sequence, I'll maybe change the color of the pen. So then, like, when I'm remembered in my head, I can remember, like, oh, the whole thing was blue, and then this was red, and I don't know why, but it makes it stand out to me more. So I write all my own lines out first in a situation like yesterday. Sometimes you can just read the sides that they give you. Every morning you go in and they give you a call sheet, it's called, with like a set of sides on it, everything that's going to be all the dialogue for that day. So, if I've got 3 or 4 lines in 2 scenes or something, I can just use the book or the side book sides and kind of highlight my lines. That's fine. But when I have an awful lot, so I write them all out first without even knowing the context, without knowing anything. Read the words, because some of that will stick. Not much, but 10 to 20% will stick right from that. Then I read through the scene a bunch of times, and the first time I read through it, I'm on my own, and I read through it into my voice memo on my phone. So today we're in Sudbury. We shot in Capreol, which is about a half hour away, give or take 5 minutes. So I know I'm going to have that ride. So like yesterday, I had a lot of lines. It was back-to-back days of having a lot of memory. So I didn't, and the call, well, I didn't start rehearsing my lines for today until after the day tomorrow, because I get confused, or after the day yesterday. You know what I mean? So I already had a bunch of shit to remember yesterday. So other than like vaguely look at what I had to do today at the beginning of the week, I leave that. So, and we got done late. It was a turnaround right to the minute. Like we had to be right in this morning, and we were here late last night. So, well, whatever it was, 12-hour minimum turnaround, whatever it was. So I knew I'd have to get home, read through. And so I recorded it before I went to bed. I recorded myself and then everybody in the scene. I just read the scene out, right? Read the 9-page scene, whatever it was, 10-page scene. And this morning on the way in, I'll listen to it. So first, again, I'll write it. I will, yeah, write it all out, and then, like I said, some of that'll stick. Okay, then I'll read through the whole scene, right, and read through all my lines and everything. And then, like I said, the first time I read and do that, I record it. I just put it to the side, and then I read through it, read through it, read through it. I go to bed. I wake up in the morning. I play as I'm showering and everything. I play what I recorded the night before. All my line. Well, it's the whole scene, right? My line, obviously, and it was weird today because it was like 8 people and a bunch of women, but whatever. I disguise my voice. I do whatever it is. It's only me listening to it. So I go through it, and then, like I said, I listened all the way out to Capriol, and it's still not perfectly in there until right before you go in with the group. So when I bring my notes in, for those that haven't been on a film set, you block the scene you go in and you do your, well, first of all, yeah, you get there early, right? And I always got to get my hair and makeup done. People were asking me why, I posted some pictures with my shirt off. They got to cover up certain tattoos. Any movie I do, I have a Beatles tattoo and a Rolling Stones. That's just a couple, but there are things that are branded or what have you that, I get the show. Well, unless the show wanted to pay a lot of money because I want to show my Beatles tattoo, copyright or whatever. So, which I always found silly anyway, because it's only a free advertisement. Not that the Beatles need it, but my fucking tattoo now isn't going to make it or break it. Now, that being said, we didn't approach them, whatever it is. It's my Rolling Stones tattoo as well. I assume that's because every movie I never asked the reason, but those two are usually covered up. And I can't remember where I was, but anyway, so that's why my shirt's off when I go in. And then, my hair, generally have to shave every morning to keep, we're often doing the same scene all week. So, or at least back-to-back days, or we'll revisit it. So hair on my face, regardless, for all scenes, is a specific length. It's barely there, but it's there. It's like 2 days of stubble. So using our memory, and then we go in and we block it first. That's blocking a scene. Is just you go through it. You can go in, take your notes, whatever. You don't even have to be wearing your wardrobe. You just go through it. So camera, lighting, everybody, the directors, they see what we're going to do. The context is going to match the camera angles, is going to match, the timing of it all and everything. So there's a lot going into it. So we just go in and go through it like, a walk in the park, just for like angles and everything, like I said. Then we go, now we got to change our wardrobe. Now hair and makeup sees us. They get ready. The camera's ready. This takes anywhere sometimes from 10 minutes to fucking an hour or more sometimes. And that whole time we go through it together. So by the time we get out there, right, it's not like you just walk up and go, let's go. By the time we get there, even if you didn't, now I'd have so much anxiety if I didn't read it the night before, at least read it. But you could get by, I think. You'd be surprised how much you can remember in all that sequence, right? You get up. I always get up 2 hours before I have to, so I leave that hour as well, like, because anything can happen. And if I go through, like, for 20 minutes and I realize, you know what, when I get there is going to be a joke, which is usually the case, then I'll get ready and I'll listen to music or whatever and go through it. But by the time you're sitting there with the camera on you, ready to go to fucking, action, here we go. It's, I've already gone through whatever I'm going to do literally hundreds of times, hundreds. So, I mean, you usually get there, but that's my method. Good God, and I don't remember. I don't even remember where I was going with any of that at the very beginning. But hey, welcome to my world. Some of you were asking. I had a Ramones shirt on, and some of you were asking about my favorite Ramones album. Well, there's an album, the Ramones, self-titled. The Ramones, I only really knew the one. Like, I like the Ramones. I love the if you get into the history of rock and roll, the punk movement, which came in basically the late 70s. You could say mid, but we're talking mainstream, which was kind of anti-punk, really. But it did, and popular things, sometimes in haste of the true fiber or what they stand for, still become popular and stay popular and are part of the zeitgeist. How do you say that word? But anyway, I say that a lot. But anyway, I had to train myself on air when I'm on with the Jason Greger show to often go, well, it's like, if you're talking about this, and it's just, and a lot of people do it, and I really had to train myself to do it less, and I still do it, but not as much as in the beginning. It's like because it's not like I'm, what's the word? I mean, I do have an English minor, and I appreciate the language, and I love good grammar. But I'm sure the way I speak, especially as Ted Hitchcock, the way I speak, um, wouldn't be considered academic. But anyway, look, that's it. I did it again. Fuck me. That's it. But seriously, anyway, the Ramones. So I'm into them. I only really know that one album. I mean, I know more songs, but whereas, like I've often said, the Beatles, people judge them on their hits and they stop releasing songs. I mean, and some people just judge them on the music, but there was more to that. And then they stopped touring. Why am I talking about the Beatles? Because the Ramones. It's not all about the hits or anything, right? So with the Beatles, it became about the albums more than anything. Their last, after they were touring, stopped touring. Their last concert was at Shea Stadium. They couldn't hear themselves play, and so they just went into the studio, and they never played in concert again. But in my mind, that's when they really became the Beatles that I love. The early stuff is great. It's poppy. It's real great pop music, I think, by some great songwriters. But it became iconic and groundbreaking after, when they hit the studio and they created the album as an art form. Really, no one had really done it before that. There were albums, but definitely by the artists, they weren't seen as creative art forms, and most artists didn't even have any say in what went on them. But anyway, so as far as albums go, the Ramones is big. Blitzkrieg Bop was huge. I Want to Be Your Boyfriend, and I believe I Want to Sniff Some Glue. Like, this was punk, right? And this came out of, I believe, the Ramones in New York. So, there was Blondie was famous for playing at this place, CBGB's, Country Bluegrass Bar, Country Bar Bluegrass Bar, whatever it was. And in that, around that time in the late 70s, it became a bit of a punk hang, because Blondie's like ska, punk, new wave, right? Like when Gwen Stefani and No Doubt came on the scene in the 90s, it was kind of in the same vein as Blondie when they came in. And it's not, her name isn't Blondie, by the way. That's Debbie Harry. The group is Blondie, but they cut their teeth in the gritty bars in the Village in New York. And I'm sure they moved from New York and they played outside of there, but most of what's known to me for that movement, and especially Blondie's involvement, and it was a scene, it was a blend, it was a culture. It wasn't just one. The music culture was that area was like a blend. So it's why Blondie actually, embarrassingly enough, for any black person listening to this, that has their roots in hip hop, but everything is an evolution. It starts somewhere. It took Elvis to bring a lot of music fans on, to people like Chuck Berry and Little Richard and Bo Diddley and B.B. King, Blind Lemon Jefferson that came before them. I mean, most rock and roll came from R&B, of which most were black artists, a lot down south and everything. So, it all goes back to that, the backbone of of the music, I guess, at least pop music in North America. And what makes icons and, popular songwriting and all that. I guess in the same way, Blondie had a little part to do with rap becoming big on the scene. Now, Sugar Hill Gang and Grandmaster Flash were on the go. It was late 70s, as were more. But she mentioned she had a song called Rapture, because she was hanging out in those areas, and CBGB's, the black artists started to come in and play there as well. And it wasn't just punk, although, I mean, it started as a country, western, bluegrass, right? And then it went like punk, and then it kind of went all over the place. And she mentions Fab Five Freddy in her rap, and she says Flash is cool, Flash is good. She's talking about Grandmaster Flash, right? So, and she's bringing rap in, but she's alluding to them because they were on that scene, right? And the Ramones came out of that. So anyway, that album by the Ramones, and the whole album is only 29 minutes. So it's a quick listen. Pretty much every song is under 3 minutes, under 2.5 minutes. They all clock in around 2 minutes, which is a throwback. At the time in the 70s, that would have been a throwback, right? Like to Elvis era stuff. because I talk about the Beatles. With the Beatles came songs like Hey Jude that were 9 minutes long, right? And then all of a sudden Led Zeppelin and things that ruled the 70s, which would be like, classic rock as we would kind of stereotype it now. You go, I don't know, fuck, man. I don't know, from the Who to Led Zeppelin to Pink Floyd, Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel. Why did I go there? A rare one, because it's just every band you can think of in the classic rock mold. America, right? Like all think of the bands I just mentioned, and then umpteen more. CCR, and just like most of the song. I mean, CCR Proud Mary goes on for what, 10 minutes? Like a lot of those songs, even the hits, right? I don't know, Boston, More Than a Feeling. That's 5 minutes long. Like, so the Ramones, 29-minute complete album, right? And each record on there, each recording on their track is, like I said, 2 minutes. That was a real throwback. That was as rebellious as the lyrics themselves. Now, because, and I got to mention that, and I believe the Ramones was produced the whole thing for like $1,000 or so. And I know if I'm wrong, it's you'd figure I would have researched this, but I'm talking. You guys are interested? Go fucking look it up. I figure that's what I'm the conduit to take you from point A to point B, right? I'm the conductor. I don't normally drink on here, but we just got done, and meeting Dolo at the keg for drinks and a bite to eat. So I'm boozing while I'm recording. And it's Thursday, which is our Friday, because our weekends are Friday and Saturday. So yeah, it's Friday night, but it's Thursday, which I like because it's low key, and it'll be more about the conversation than the clubbing. You know what I mean? So although I love that whole movement and I respect the Ramones and everything, so I would put the Clash ahead of the Ramones when it comes to punk bands. I mean, this is all subjective, but the Clash, right, from London, I believe they're up at London Calling. Listen to that album, right? And the reason the Ramones, I think, are huge for music and the punk movement, and there's so many, and Sex Pistols are right up there, but I wouldn't put them. I wouldn't put them with the Clash. I think the Clash were part, like, they were just they were deeper. They were better. They were deeper. Their songs, a lot of them. The Ramones didn't really have anywhere to go. Right, they chose to stay in their lane, which was great. But if you listen to a lot of Clash versus Ramones is often a thing in the punk world, and and the Clash. This is Radio Clash, Train in Vain, Rock the Casbah. Think of Rock the Casbah, just that, like, little in the piano, little right, and the beat with the piano, the background singers in unison, the attitude which he's singing it. It's just not to be found in most punk albums. Like I love Green Day, and a lot of punk traditionalists would get upset if I even put them in the same. But that's it. It becomes commercial at some point, guys. And Green Day are a great fucking band. And for some reason, every time I get on here and say it, I face a lot of emails and online taunting, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I saw them with 55,000 people there. They sold out their whole tour. There must be some people that agree with me. Now, I get it. I would put the Clash as in terms of importance and bridging the gap between classic rock and what we know today as punk, and what led to new wave. People go like new wave, the 80s, from fucking Devo to the Cars to I don't know, anything with the Pet Shop Boys with the fucking synthesizer or whatever. So music evolves, but I think, yeah, Green Day are every bit as fucking relevant as any of them because they took it to a new place. People getting into Green Day now, if you truly get into it, like, my daughter's not major into them, but when I went with my dad, and I don't force music on her, but since day one, I'll always, if I play her 5 songs, 2 of them will be things she should know. I don't give a fuck if she doesn't listen to them anymore. But, at this point, she knows who the Rolling Stones are, the Beatles, that she can form her own opinions, Paul Simon. I would pepper in, I'd play, like, always relevant stuff for the time, whatever, Lady Gaga, Sabrina Carpenter, whatever the fuck. And since she's like 1, and of every 10 songs, I'd play 2 or 3, not always classic rock. Could be fucking Walk This Way by Run DMC or The Message by Grandmaster Flash. Songs / bands, X artists that I think are good to know because it'll help you in a conversation at some point. It'll come up more. If you refer to it in a paper at university or something, the teacher is more likely to know the Beatles' fucking Sgt. Pepper than Johnny Smith Rosedale Avenue or whatever the fuck album Johnny Smith came up with. But you know what I mean? So it's just good to know these things. It served me well. It was advice that I got from my dad way back. And, it served me well. Yeah. So anyway, when we got into, I'm doing it. When we went to my dad and I this summer to see Green Day, but Penny Lane was going to come, but she had some big soccer games. She had actually had an Atlantic soccer tournament there, and she takes it seriously, and I would never be ever. I would feel absolutely fucking awful. I wouldn't do it as a parent or as an athletic role model. Take her out of soccer unless it was like a practice, and I don't know. A regular I honestly would really ask her before even a regular game in her schedule, but she takes it seriously. But maybe that. But she had a tournament, man. It was Team Newfoundland, Team Atlantic Canada, Team PEI, Team New Brunswick, Team Nova, and they did all right. Lost in the ship. Anyhow, so I was like, yeah, this Green Day. We'll sit down and listen. While usually I pick an album, and when we're driving around, anybody important, you like Paul Simon? Here's his top 5 songs. Boom, 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 boom. And then we'll go and buy a vinyl record down to Fred's on Water or Duckworth Street in St. John's. That's usually the way it happens. So, of course, when she got into Green Day, I was like, well, you must know this and you must know this. Now, you remember when I was playing Blitzkrieg Bach? Well, they came before Green Day, and they were clearly an influence. This is the Ramones. Remember how I said London Calling? London Calling. We used to listen to that back in the day when she was a kid. She, for whatever reason, before she could even talk, really. So I'm like, yeah, that's the Clash, right? And now now you're older, but that song is on the London Calling album, and Train in Vain is one of your songs too that we used to listen to, and that's also the Clash, right? So I've always looked at it like that with Penny Lane. And anyway, with the Clash, I just find them a little bit deeper. I think I respect them a little more, which is a terrible thing to say. Not that I don't respect the Ramones or the Sex Pistols or Dead Kennedys or Black Flag or the Misfits. And I mean, my favorite, if you were just to go like sound, like and volume of songs, would be Green Day. But yeah, the Clash, man, just they had a few fucking bangers albums, like just Clash's greatest hits. Try it out if you want a sample size, but go back. And if you're a fan of the album or you want to play London Calling, start to finish. And a lot of the songs, the same theme. And it's, to me, the Clash helped bring in the punk movement, much as the Beatles helped bring in what we now know as classic rock and that whole sound. Except much like the Beatles, they probably influenced more bands because they included more genres and they were deeper. They like, I could see Bob Marley listening to, no, he came before, but okay, so a young, hypothetically here, listening to, it was probably the other way around. The Clash were probably influenced by Bob Marley, but I could see of a Bob Marley type, listening to certain Clash songs, meaning that I think the Clash sometimes get reggae, which was really wild at the time, right? Reggae, and there are even little hints of hip hop. And anyway, I really think the Clash are an underrated band, and it's worth listening to everything I just mentioned. And really start with the Ramones. As far as punk albums, that's one of the best, man. That's really one of the best. My favorite are 3 punk albums. It'd definitely be the first that Ramones album, London Calling, the Clash, and Green Day. Oh God, Jesus, what's the name of it? Not Basket Case. The very first Green Day, Dookie, fucking Dookie. That's my favorite 3. Now, fuck, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that don't even have either one of those in the top. And that's why, opinions are opinions. And chats like this, beneficial, if nothing else, to forward the debate over maybe, who do you like in punk music? And continue the conversation. And the more people that listen, the more can check out all of the above, all talented musicians and artists that change the game and are part of the reason that a lot of what you listen to on the radio today or within the last 40 years or even around. And all the greats will tell you that. Okay. Well, once again, I didn't get to one thing I was going to talk about, but, well, I guess the Ramones. I got a note to myself. Talk about the Ramones for Samantha. I write this shit down. Samantha in Saskatoon. Samantha, I'm going to be in Saskatoon in June. Check it out. I'll be speaking. I believe it's, Heart and Stroke. Be playing a NHL alumni thing, and speaking shortly after. It's the weekend. It's Friday, Saturday is the alumni, then Sunday I'm speaking at an event. Just follow me on Instagram, Jenny. If you listen to this, I'm sure you must already, but check it out. I'll be dropping that soon, and I'm dropping a new website soon, folks. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening. Sorry I didn't have a guest today. Just do my best, but it's just time is it's hard to predict. Well, time is easy to predict, and the pace at which it goes by, but I don't know when the fuck I'm going to be free when it comes to this stuff. We thought we were going to be there a lot longer today, but the film world is just so unpredictable, and unpredictable is probably the wrong word, because to some degree I know when I'm in and when I'm working and stuff, but the hours of the day change, and we get 1 hour for lunch, and usually I just have a shitload to do, and we're not somewhere that I can set up Wi-Fi and all that stuff. Anyway, I don't need to justify it. This is it. If you're tuning in, you know that already. Thanks for listening. If you're downtown St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, check out Trinity Pub, TJ's, Rob Roy Confusion, Martini Bar, Green Sleeves, and of course, Bull and Barrel. If you're going to go for a bite to eat, Loose Tie, Blue on Water, Wedgwood fucking Cafe, who also do catering. Strength and balance for the body and mind. Go no further than Ryan fucking Power on fucking Rope Walk fucking Lane in beautiful St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Mr. Lube, 2 locations. One's on Torbay Road, one's on Kenmount Road in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Live, laugh, lube! Pippo Pain Relief. The pain sticks just don't quit. Go to pippopainrelief.com. See what all the fuss is about. True Hockey. Take what's yours. And I loves me Mugsy jeans. They're so comfortable. Thanks for listening, people. I'll see y'all soon. Catch you on the rebound.